Hello, Robin here of Toadstool Tarot, and today I'm bringing you a review by way of comparison of a deck that is gaining a lot of popularity recently. It's an RWS deck called the Original Tarot. Since the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot was originally published in the early 1900s and gained much popularity in the 60s, there have been countless versions of it that slightly differ and using Pamela Coleman Smith's original artwork. Now, in 2019, it's a century and a decade after the original work was published, and there are more every day. Some collectors may find that they need to collect them all. If you have that kind of need, you might want to consider where that need is coming from and whether you actually have an addiction. If it's just a want more than a need and you have the financial resources, go for it. Just add them to your collection. I think if there were only one RWS, that would probably be sufficient, and I'd be happy with that. The fact that so many have been released with so many minor variations, I think it tends to make one want to discern one from the other and pick and choose a favorite to use. I don't know why. That's just kind of the way we are, I actually, my favorite, I think, or I should say, my old standby is the Smith-Waite Centennial in a tin, because I really like tarots in a tin, and the coloration and design of this just feels authentic to me. It's slightly grainy and slightly antique colored. Rider-Waite Smith is a system, as you all know, that is sort of the gold standard and establishes a baseline in tarot language. So, whichever deck you choose, if you choose an RWS deck, you'll probably be happy with it. But back to this one. This, I believe, was about $15 or so on Amazon. It's perhaps the most, or one of the most affordable decks, and pretty good quality considering. You might find in looking there are, I'm not sure if this is a second edition of a previous one. There's another one that looks like this. Oh, this is called the Original Tarot. It's published by Siren Imports, which here says from North Carolina. They're made in China, so I'm not sure about that. And also there's a little thing down here on the back that says Dabrai or Dabrig. So I'm not sure if that's the publisher. It comes with a little book, and the little book doesn't list a publisher in it. So I was going to say the other one, there's another one that the box looks like this online, but it's a more yellow box. And that one has cards that have a sort of a chocolate background. This particular one has a sort of a more creamy kind of beige background. Same design, just different coloration. And I'm not doing comparison of this deck with the other deck. I didn't get the other deck because of the walkthroughs I had seen. The coloration was, it seemed a little brighter, a little more garish, and I like the more subdued coloring on this particular deck. Now, first of all, it comes with a little white book that is a fairly substantial, thick little white book, and it's nice to have. It's got full color illustrations of all the cards in it. You get each one has a full page. When you get down to the minors, there's 4 to a double page spread, so each page covers 2 minor cards. It's a nice little thing to have. It doesn't tell you very much about each card. You know, a sentence. The majors have maybe a paragraph or 2. The minors have a sentence. The only issue I have with this book is whoever prepared it laid it out improperly, and the text just kind of vanishes right into the binding. They didn't offset the margins properly, and I suppose it looks like it's glue bound, or I think what they call perfect binding. If you force open the binding, I suspect it will crack, possibly come unglued, and the pages may come out. I'm not going to do that. You can spread them apart enough to read everything. It's just, you know, a minor imperfection. I think it's actually a pretty nice little book. The cards themselves, everybody's going on about how they have a linen feel. Linen's okay. I think I have one other linen deck, and it's nice. It's a favorite Oracle deck. I'm not that big a fan of linen finishing. It's nice. What it does, it's sort of a grid texture, like, you know, the warp and weft of linen cloth. And if you hold it at an angle, it catches the light and creates almost imperceptible shadows along the grain, which I don't really care for. But generally speaking, in decent lighting, you don't notice it. So, you know, it's not that big a deal. I'm going to compare it to these 3 other decks that I've gotten recently. So there's the original tarot, then the Tarot of A.E. Waite by AGM, a tarot that I got through MakePlayingCards.com by James Rickcliffe called the RWS 2.0, and the Radiant Wife's Spirit Tarot from Lo Scarabeo. I've bought all of these in the last month or 2, and they all have their positive points and negative points. This one actually is, you know, pretty good and pretty close to the Centennial. It doesn't quite have the antique-y feel, and the coloring's a little different, but it's pretty close. All 4 of these have different fonts because U.S. game systems have a copyright on the designs, or one version of the designs anyway, and for some reason they're the only ones that have Pixie's original font on the bottom until this one. Now, I don't know if it's because it's made in China or how they got around that. Siren Imports. I did get it on Amazon, US Amazon, so I don't know how that works. But I'm just going to show you. It's a little awkward because I don't have the proper camera to do this. don't know if you can see the 4 different fonts and the 4 different colorations of these cards from left to right. This is the Siren Imports. This is the AGM Tarot of A.E. Waite. This is the RWS 2.0, and this is the Radiant Wise Spirit. The backs. This is the Radiant Wise Spirit with roses. This is the RWS 2.0 with a kind of a star. The A.E. Waite has a crackle back, which is traditional. I believe it's close to one of the earliest published versions. And this is the original tarot from Siren. So I just thought I would show you those. The line definition in all of them is fairly good. Some is better than the others. Until recently, I thought the A.E. Waite version was the sharpest. And then I went and got the RWS 2.0. And of these 4, I think the line work, all the outlining in it, is the sharpest. I am not sure, but I believe both of those decks, or perhaps all of them, are bragging about using vectorized art, which is a way of non-pixelating the images and making them very sharp by computer process. Instead of just rescanning them, they've used a program to redraw them, retrace the lines in a very sharp and crisp manner. The Radiant Wise Spirit is a borderless deck and has a very moody coloration to it, as you can see, kind of a dark cast. For the most part, the RWS 2.0 has a very radiant and vivid coloration. It's not quite as noticeable on this card as some of the other cards. A lot of the cards have ombre effects, gradients in the skies in the background, which I'll show you later. Actually, you can sort of see it a little bit in the mountains between these two. I don't know if you can see in the blue of the mountains where it meets the white. It's sort of similar to the Radiant Wise Spirit. There, one kind of bleeds into the other color, whereas in these other two, you have a sharper edge, to the blue. In the A.E. Waite, it's almost like little hash mark lines to define the separation of blue and the white snow in the mountains. In the original, the blue has a kind of a hard edge to it before it meets the snow. Some people specifically like this new one because of the linen finish. Okay, that's a choice. Some like it because it uses Pixie's font, and the others don't. The others use other fonts. I like her font, but my personal preference is for really sharp line work where I can see every little detail, and the coloration has to appeal to me. So out of these 4, even though the original is really nice and very accurate looking, I still prefer, I think, the RWS 2.0. That's kind of my current favorite. They all have fairly thin borders on the edges, except, of course, the Radiant Wise Spirit, which is borderless. You can see the borders here. And one thing I like about the RWS 2.0 is the sky or the image actually bleeds beyond the black line border. It bleeds right off the edge of the card, which I really like a lot. So they're kind of like borderless cards, even though they do have that thin black line around them, because the image actually goes right off the edge. Not the full illustration image, but the color part of the image. So the atmosphere of it, or the aura or ether of the skies, of the background coloring, bleeds right off the edge of the card, and they're gorgeous. But anyway, I'm not here mainly to talk about that deck, even though that's the one I like and recommend. Let's see. At first glance, when I went through the original deck, the only flaw that I found was it seemed to me like the faces have a kind of a deadness to them. They lose a little bit of the detail in the lining of the faces. The rest of the images are fine, but for some reason the faces tend to be not as defined. I don't know if you can see that here, if I can get close enough or not. You probably can't see it, but the face on this one compared to this one is just not as sharp or dark. The lines are they're kind of almost disappearing. Let me see if I can move on to some other cards here for you. I'm sorry, I apologize, I don't have the best means to present these. I don't have the proper photographic equipment or setup to just do an overhead view, side-by-side view. So, but we have to make do with what we have. Bear with me while I try to get you the Magician. This is not a great way to do this, but we'll muddle through. Okay. Now here, you may see what I'm talking about in the faces. I don't know. You get a little bit of better sense of the RWS 2.0 background coloring in this Magician. I don't know if you can see that kind of ombre effect in the sky. Maybe I can just. This is the Siren. This is the A.E. Waite. God, I can't show you and look at the same time properly. The coloring is slightly different. I don't know quite how to compare it. The A.E. Waite, most of the cards have almost more of an orangey red on the Magician's cloak. This one has a brighter, more cherry red or something. Um, let's try this. You can see a little bit of the color difference here. This is the Siren. This is the A.E. Waite. See, the blue is a different blue here. And it's kind of a... the RWS 2.0 sort of falls somewhere in between the two in its blue. And the Radiant Wise Spirit is a moody, darker blue. Let's see. Oh dear. This is on the Empress. This is the Siren. Yes, this is the Siren deck of the Empress card versus the A.E. Waite. The A.E. Waite color is like very washed out on her face, and the dress is sort of a mess as well. I hadn't noticed. On the other hand, the Empress from the 2.0, the skies alone are stunning, and all the flowers and details on her dress just really pop. And of course, the Radiant Wise Spirit, moody again. I'm not going to go through every card of the deck because I can see already this is becoming possibly tedious for you. But I'll try to find cards that are specifically radically different. Okay, here's the Hierophant. The coloration, again, the reds are more of a cherry red. The headdress is almost orange compared to the yellow on the A.E. Waite, and the face is very salmon-y pink. So this is the Siren, this is the A.E. Waite. You can see the tops of the disciples' heads look almost sunburnt in this one. The color's vivid. The skin tones on the Siren are fairly consistently solid. No modeling. They're not pale. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I sort of like the skin tones, but then again, look at the skin tones. Is it very, very what they call flesh tone in the Crayola box versus these that are sort of golden tan or something on the A.E. Waite. They're somewhere in between on the 2.0. I like that very much. And then similarly in between, but shaded on the Radiant Wise Spirit. Again, with the Chariot, the crown is more orange than yellow, and the skin tone's more flesh tone than pale. This is the gorgeous 2.0 and the Radiant Wise Spirit. The coloring is just, this one blows me away. The only possible drawback with this for me is the font, which I've gotten used to. I'm okay with it, and that there's a little copyright on the edge by the creator of this deck, but it's sort of hidden in the bleed out effect. It's not that obvious, and because the backgrounds are so stunning, I can live with that. But again, I guess I'm not really supposed to be pushing that deck since I'm here mostly to show you the Siren version. This one, on strength, the lion, in 3 out of 4 decks, the lion's body is a mottled color. It's sort of a toffee color in the Radiant Wise Spirit. It's a little bit mottled orangey brown in the 2.0. It's almost hashtag line orange in the A.E. Waite. And it's a matte orange in the Siren deck. The Hermit, again, the skin tones are that flesh tone crayon color, Crayola color. They're sort of washed out in the A.E. Waite. The 2.0, they are similar to that flesh tone. This one people might have an issue with because they included a full moon that's not on any other deck. I like it though. And then of course the Radiant Wise Spirit, which is a very moody color. In the sky, that is, not in the skin. Although the skin is sort of a dark tannish color. On Justice, on the Justice card, oh boy. On the Radiant Wise Spirit, the lines in the face, well, the lines on the whole card are very thick and dark. On the 2.0, very clear. On the A.E. Waite, very clear. Just looking at the face particularly now. And we start to lose detail on the Siren face. I don't know if my camera is picking these up properly, but like I said, with the Siren deck, a lot of the faces look sort of dead to me. The eyes, the whites of the eyes are filled in flesh tone, which is weird. And some of them, the pupils of the eyes just like sort of get lost and disappear. I don't know if you can see here on the Fool. This is the Fool from the Siren deck. If you can see, the eyes just almost vanish. The line work is not very good here at all. The left eye almost looks blind, like he's missing an eye. It's just, it's not real sharp there. The Death card. The Death card looks pretty good. The colors are very pronounced in the Siren deck. All the elements are sort of in fields of color or planes of color. You can see down here the clothing and stuff there. Within the outlines, it's just kind of flat colors. Whereas in the A.E. Waite, it's more variant color and a little more washed out. I actually love the 2.0, which is a sort of a brownish sky in the background, and the wise spirit is a very dark blue. On the Temperance card, there's quite a difference between all four of them. The coloration in the wings on the Siren is very different. You see a more pinky red in this one. Every feather in the wing is beautifully defined in the 2.0 with an orange cast background to it. And of course, again, the moodiness in the Radiant Wise Spirit. The Devil. Again, these are all very subtle differences. I mean, if you only had any one of these, you'd probably be thrilled with it. I'm just, trying to distinguish or discern the differences between them. And you can kind of only pick that up when you see them side by side. In this one, the Devil is the Radiant Wise Spirit in the 2.0. You can see orange in the wings. There's a very heavy orange cast to the Devil. And it's more pale, sort of realistic tones, and gray in the wings on the A.E. Waite. And red again on the Siren, but gray in the wings. And again, you see that Crayola flesh tone on the people's skin. The Tower, interesting. There is, again, sort of flat planes of color and very distinct line work on the Siren card. And the crown is more orangey than the traditional yellow. But the color sort of helps define the Siren one a bit more, I think. On the Star, it looks like the Siren did a pretty good job. The A.E. Waite's a little washed out. So I think, basically the issue with this Siren import is whether you like that skin tone or not, because they seem to be using it for every card that there's a human being pictured in. And also a lot of the yellows are that sort of orangey taxi cab yellow rather than a more kind of canary yellow. Oddly enough, they didn't use that yellow for the moon and the moon card. It is a little bit darker yellow than the more washed out A.E. Waite. The Sun card. The Sun card has a typical yellow. The sunflower centers are more orangey. This is the A.E. Waite, and I don't know if you can see, there's a little squiggle in the sign, in the sun at the top. That's from one of the earliest sort of misprints that people tend to value. It's been removed on the Siren card, or corrected, I should say. Just going to show you while I'm at it, the 2.0 and the wise spirit. These suns both have orange eyes instead of just black outlines to the yellow eyes. And I kind of like that. And this one has, you know, sort of a shading to it. And this one, you know, has a shading to the sky. The Judgment card, I think for me, mostly the things I don't like as much in the Siren deck are the reds and the flesh tone. The reds are, like I said, more of a cherry red and less of a orangey red. And that flesh tone is that Crayola crayon flesh tone. This again is the A.E. Waite. Here is the, just for fun, is the 2.0 and the Radiant Wise Spirit. And this is the World card. Let me put those in the folder so you can see them all. This video is already 38 minutes long, so I don't think I'll go into the minors for you. But I think you have enough of an idea now between the differences in the coloration and line definition of these cards and their own separate various qualities: borderless, bleed to the edge, sharpness, coloration. It's, you know, again, it's all a matter of taste and preference. And maybe I'll leave it there for now. So sorry if I muddled through this a little bit. It's as I said, I don't have the proper setup to do this proper justice or the proper lighting. But I hope you get a general feel for the 4 different decks, and specifically for the qualities of the original tarot from Siren. It's recommend worthy. You know, like I said, the price is good. The linen's great for people that like linen cards. You now know the coloring issues with the red and the flesh tone. If you like that or don't mind that, you know, this might be your go-to deck. And it doesn't have the U.S. Games copyright on it, which is nice. None of these other decks have the U.S. Games copyright on them. The A.E. Waite you can only get in Europe. I had to order it through Amazon UK. The Lo Scarabeo one you can get here, but because it's them, of course, you don't have the U.S. Games copyright on it. And the 2.0 has James Rickleff's copyright because he redrew and recolored his deck. So, yeah, I guess that's it for me today. And I hope in some ways this is helpful. If you need to see more of the original tarot cards, there are a lot of people doing full walkthroughs, so check those out. This was just by means of a comparison and a kind of an overview of the deck to let you know what the box looks like, you know, what you get in the box. And it's, you know, it's, what do you call it? Tuck box, which I don't like. But, you know, what do you expect for 15, 16 bucks? So that'll do it for today, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thanks for bearing with me, and have a great day. Bye.